Okay, so week 16 just passed by and we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, so let's get right into it.
We got one of Santa's helpers as a kicker. What's he ride to the games in, a car seat?
What a Saints game, in every semblance of the word. I forgot what it's like to sit down and watch this disgraceful organization fumble the easiest schedule in the league in the most boring way possible, but good to be back. I mean, the Saints don't even lose in a fun way. They just went out there on Thursday and got flattened on the first drive and decided to just shut down until the fourth quarter. If Cooper Kupp could catch early on, the Rams could have honestly dropped a 30 bomb on them in the first half, but instead, outside of the Rashid Shaheed touchdown, the Saints did everything wrong. They refused to use Taysom Hill and just let Matthew Stafford create completion percentage porn for 60 minutes, and even though the Rams took their foot off the gas a little bit, this game was never in question. Dennis Allen and Pete have to go, man. They need to get fired after the season, and with Atlanta and Tampa getting wins this week, the Saints are fucked. What a disappointing season. You might as well just kiss the playoffs goodbye at this point.
I say right foot creep.
Of course, this is the game where the Steelers blow out somebody. Not the Patriots or Cardinals games. No. It would have to be against a division rival who's been playing at the top of their game since Joe Burrow went down. This Steelers team breaks the basic rules of statistics. Mason Rudolph is still shit, though. Let's get that out of the way. But Mike Tomlin decided to dip into the dark arts once again and capitalized off of the momentum you get from benching a quarterback, which worked. Jake Browning just made way too many mistakes early on, which buried Cincinnati, and the Steelers just did a great job not letting the Bengals get any more opportunities than they should have, and the scriptwriters were ambitious on Saturday. The NFL was definitely testing out how many bombs they could let go off in a game without people getting a little skeptical, and hey, it did make the game a little bit more exciting, so thanks for that, I guess, Roger. On paper, this seemed like the most obvious trap game in the history of trap games. An animal fights the hardest when they're cornered, and with a new head coach, the Chargers were not a team Buffalo should have taken lightly, and the Bills came out in a must-win game. Like, if they lost this game, it was all over, and shat themselves right down the leg and into the sock. This was just absolutely pathetic. The new head coach momentum is strong, I know, but still, need I remind you, Easton Stick is at quarterback, and the Chargers held a 2-possession lead early on behind the Stick Man. Now, if this were like the Saints, or damn near any other team playing with a new head coach, no way the Bills escaped this game with their lives, but pretty much right after Josh Allen and Gabe Davis scored, the momentum was entirely swung, and despite more and more injuries, because this was a Bills game, it looked like Buffalo was just gonna grind it out. But Dicker the kicker was keeping the Chargers in the game, and after chipping away at the Bills' lead, Easton Stick had a chance to go win the game and ruin everything for Buffalo, but the Bills' defense just made a few too many plays, and Buffalo continues to trudge forward on their quest of ruining a divisional winner's season in the wild card. So congratulations, Buffalo. That is no easy feat what you just did. Only the elite of the elite are able to take down the Easton Stick-led Chargers, who, admittedly did play hard with nothing tangible to play for, so in conclusion, this was all Justin Herbert's fault. He fucking sucks. Oh yeah, this game had it all. Nick Mullins versus Jared Goff, slinging it back and forth. Justin Jefferson was back in action, and the Money Badger still has a job. Ugh. Life's good, guys. Life's good. But the story of this game was Jared Goff and the Lions offense. If you give Jared time in the pocket, the man is a 5-star Michelin chef, and he was roasting the Vikings defense alive all game long. But while he was cooking, Nick Mullins was... he was cooking too. The burner on the gas stove was on high for the entire game, and the man was playing with fire. Every play, it seemed like there was an equal chance he was going to uncork a heater to a receiver or one of the worst interceptions you'll ever witness. But that Jameis Winston play style has its advantages. However, slowly but surely, Nick Mullins' weapons are deteriorating. With TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison going down, a 2-possession lead seemed almost impossible to overcome. But Justin Jefferson, god damn, this man can play football. After a field goal, the grown man was doing everything in his power to put the team on his back, and after being given a lifeline, Mullins drops back with a clean-ass pocket and lobs quite possibly the worst professional football pass I've seen in months. Try to tell me this game didn't remind you of the Vikings-Bills game from last year. Obviously, it didn't have, like, near any of the insanity that game had, but in terms of endings, it was pretty close. And the reason I bring this up is the Lions just clinched the division title and are celebrating like they won the Super Bowl, which has its own set of consequences, but it seems like this Lions team has just become the Vikings of last year. And I've said it before, but no matter how bad the team they're playing is, if they don't match up well against you, they will play you close. So if this team comes out flat in the wild card, it's on you, Dan Campbell. Do not fuck this fun season up now. What happens when you take the Tennessee Titans, who have a recipe of making games as oddly close as possible mastered, and the Seattle Seahawks in one? You get this game. For the first 3.5 quarters, it was the same thing, an ugly back and forth mid-off between the Titans offense led by Tannehill, who isn't good, and the Seahawks offense, loaded with talent, who did a phenomenal job in this game of getting in their own way every drive. But hey, this is still a Titans-Seahawks game, so no matter what happens early on, this game was going to have one hell of an ending no matter what. And with the Titans realizing, wait a minute, we don't want to win this game, they just decided to do nothing, and the Seahawks took advantage. And I have been really critical of Geno Smith for sure, and more on him in a second, but if he can do one thing, it's lead a game-winning drive. And the Seahawks went down the field with Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba grabs to set up Colby Parkinson, the man Viking, to haul in the game-winning touchdown. Once again, though, if the Seahawks make the playoffs this year, which is still a big-ass maybe, they're not going to do anything, and the success of this organization lies with the younglings in the future. And I just don't think Geno Smith's timetable adds up with the young core, so maybe if the time's right, they might want to consider a young quarterback dog who can lead them into the future and grow alongside the team, because as it stands right now, with Geno, this team has a very clear ceiling. Welcome to hell, New York. You can't even win games in a fun way. Well, fun for you, because I had a fabulous time watching Breece Hall get 16 targets, but it didn't matter, because Sam Howell is just fighting demons right now. And unfortunately for all 15.4 of you Washington fans out there, he's not winning that battle. With the Jets defense eating him alive in the first half, Howell once again exited this game benched with a solid stat line worthy of the heir to inefficiency himself, Nathan Peterman. So you know the drill, in comes Jacoby Brissett, and all of a sudden, we have a game. And because Trevor Siemian is actually somehow worse than Zachary Wilson, the Commanders have actually taken a lead. Which, I mean, fuck it. The Jets already threw the game away, so they might as well just say this was on purpose and go to the draft with better capital. They won. They actually won this game. This Jets team is one of the teams of all time. They're going to be such an interesting case study in like 5 years, and obviously this would be the game where they battled through their self-created adversity to win, so good work sabotaging your tank. And for Washington, this is it. Sam Howell's confidence is 12 feet in the and given their draft pick as well as this stacked quarterback class, it's got to be quarterback time. Even if Sam Howell wasn't actually playing this bad, you'd probably still have to take a franchise QB, but with Sam doing next to nothing on the field, he's made that decision a whole lot easier, so get to studying right now. Hey, this was a shockingly fun game. Both of these young quarterbacks were balling out. Bryce Young had one of the best games of his young career, but I don't need to say it, do I? Oh, fine. It was the Green Bay Packers, so let's chill out on the Bryce Young is so back hype for just a week or two, okay? And instead, let's focus on applauding Joe Barry for finding a way to allow his defense to be torched by DJ Chark and allowed a 30-piece to Carolina. That is absolutely not easy to do. Well done. Truly one of the great accomplishments of this season. Watching Green Bay's offense also just makes me think, what if this team had like T. Higgins on it next year? If Jordan Love had protection and a stud he can consistently throw to, that might be a very dangerous combination. And the defense was throwing in this game as per usual, but although Joe Barry is strong, at times, Jordan Love is even more powerful, dragging this receiverless core plagued by injuries on the back of his wagon to will the team to a win versus the worst team in football of the last 5 years. Man, this team better not make the playoffs. I swear to God. If they play like Dallas or Philly in round 1, Joe Barry is actually going to be cannibalized trying to leave the stadium. Atlanta, why are you this way? Why was this the game where you decided to do something? After losing to the Panthers, this was the week where you decided you weren't completely eliminated from the playoffs, huh? It's so frustrating. Every game with them, there's potential, but they so rarely meet even the lowest bar every week to even be called a mediocre team. But in this game, the run game actually looked good. Heineke did okay, I guess, and the defense was just hounding Minshew all day long. The man couldn't do 6 sacks from a unit, now led by a Paleolithic-era Calais Campbell, is impressive, but that also says a lot about this Colts offensive line. This was supposed to be one of the best units in football, but for the second straight season, factoring in the price tag of this line, they've been very, very underwhelming. But to be fair, when the Jonnu Smith screen pass play is working, pretty much nothing is going to go right for you. And you can afford a loss to sort of Indianapolis, and as long as you can beat the Raiders and win a divisional game with Carson Wentz playing some good football, then you... Wait a minute. Oh no, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen again. Joe, you gotta warn me when you drop a performance like this. Oh, Jesus, I'm running out of underwear here, brother. 250 yards and 2 touchdowns at halftime, and it led to Amari Cooper just going nuclear. Oh, you're spoiling me, Joseph. Well, besides the usual Flacco MVP performance, it kind of hit me. At one point, I realized that I'm watching Case Keenum versus Joe Flacco, and I'm not 13 years old, so that was weird, but I was also pretty shocked at how long they actually decided to keep Case Keenum in this game for. Davis Mills wasn't absolutely terrible when he was in, but you can't really dock the Texans that much for the overall performance. The injury gods had to just nerf them for having this much success so early on in their rebuild, so just keep the culture going strong, and if you can sneak into the wild card and get some experience for the young guys, that would be an absolute luxury. But before we get into the 1 o'clock games, I gotta talk to you about this video's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, which you should be familiar with by now, is the easiest way to play fantasy sports, in my opinion, and my personal favorite way to do that is through the pick'em game format, where you simply choose whether you think a player will go higher or lower on any stat you choose, and depending on how many you get right in a row, you can win up to 20 times your initial money. And so, after winning the bets last week, I'm coming back for more. I got 2 picks right here, which are David Montgomery over 52.5 rushing yards for the Saturday game, and CJ Stroud over 273.5 passing yards if he plays versus the Titans. So if you want to tail this pick'em entry or come up with your own and you live in one of these many states in orange on the screen here, then click the link in the description to sign up with promo code Tubfrog, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Also, if you sign up using my code for the first time, you'll receive a free pick'em offer this week, where all Dak Prescott has to do on Saturday is get a singular yard. So if that sounds good to you, go have some fun on Underdog and make sure you use promo code Tubfrog for a massive discount. And with that, let's get back to the recap. Listen, have I been low on the Jaguars this year? Yes, but this team has talent. But both sides of the ball on paper are loaded. They have proven coaches, sort of. They have a successful scheme, and they should still be motivated from last season. But no, it's all gone. This team's soul is no more. And Trevor Lawrence, coming back only to get injured again, has only shoveled another pile of sludge onto the ever-growing mound that is their depressing season. This is probably an overreaction, but I don't care. I haven't been more disappointed with a team more than the Jaguars. I seriously believe Trevor Lawrence had a shot at the MVP, and in a year like this, all he had to do was keep that streak going from the last couple of games of last year, and it would have been a lock. But no, he's found a way to regress significantly, and the defense is unraveling, and even Travis Etienne, one of the lone bright spots early on, has began to crumble alongside the O-line. This is absolutely fucked, Jacksonville. It's just all fucked. So much talent is being wasted, and Tampa might just have the division on wraps. As long as they can handle Derek Carr's wrath next week, Baker's gonna see some playoff action, and you know, that might just be fine with me, as long as Todd Bowles is still gone next year. Good loss, Arizona. Well done. Seriously, this was an L they needed to keep themselves in contention for a top 3 pick, and since they're one of the few teams that is It's debatable, but they are, I guess, content with their quarterback situation. They'll probably be open to trades unless they want a receiver. So it's all focused on drafting. And for the Bears, honestly, damn near the same thing. This game might as well just not have happened for them. If you ask a Bears fan in like 2 years what happened in 2023 when the Bears beat the Cardinals, they'll probably just respond with, who the hell is Justin Fields? Enjoy the morale victory, Chicago. The offense looked fine at times versus one of the worst defenses in football, so you might as well just focus all your attention on what you're going to do if the Panthers complete their unintentional tank job, and make sure the promised one is taken care of. The game that everyone was waiting for. Can the Dolphins beat a good team? Can the Cowboys also beat a good team? And the game was actually, surprisingly to a lot of people, very ugly. Many expected a Chargers-Dolphins game rematch, basically a track meet between these teams, but that was never going to happen. Instead, this was a stalemate between two elite units early on, and the winner of this game would be the one who could eventually dink and dunk their way to more field goals, and Jason Sanders. Man, he had a game, and Miami needed every point he gave them. With Tyreek clearly not 100% and Waddle going down, the weapons seemed to be getting grim around Tua at one point. So the field goals were nice, and Miami's defense also did enough to hold off the Cowboys' offense to, at the very least, force a penalty to make this a game, and now it was Mike McDaniel's turn. Time for him to prove in a playoff-like atmosphere he could orchestrate this offense to a game-winning drive, and that's exactly what he did. Tyreek made massive plays, and the run game was effective when it mattered, and Miami did it? Oh my God, they actually beat a contender. What? Well, yes, it's impressive. Talk to me in about 2 weeks when you do it again. Beat a playoff team, and then we'll start talking about the Super Bowl, because that's really all that you should be focused on at this point.
Let's ride.
Let's just pretend that the first half never happened, and when you ignore that fact, you got yourself a pretty solid game. But the way it ended is not super beneficial for Denver. I hate to say it, but you did come back and almost win the game, but almost isn't good enough. And what actually happened was you lost to Bailey Zappi and the Patriots, who are actively trying to lose on purpose. Congratulations to Chad Ryland for screwing up the tank. I guess this is sort of payback for what he did against the Giants a few weeks back, but I really don't care. The Patriots season is over, and it's been over for weeks, and you know that, but for Denver, this is it. This was your last chance to try and even attempt a playoff push, and you just choked it. It's over. It really is to me. Russell Wilson is going to be gone this season. Sean Payton is probably going to stay, but he probably didn't even want to run it back with these guys that he didn't even want. All the best players in this Broncos team were picked by the previous regime, so I just expect Sean Payton to clean house. Russell Wilson will be gone, Jerry Jeudy, and there'll be a ton of other defensive guys who won't be here, and next season, they might just have the worst offense in football. But for that final 2 minutes or so, this game did remind me a little bit of a classic, like 2015 type Broncos-Patriots game, but that was just for a few minutes, and that's not enough to salvage this entire game from being still underwhelming. This was it right here. This was it. This was my favorite Raider game of the entire season. Yes, we just destroyed the Chargers, but who gives a fuck? That was Easton Stick. Well, actually, let me not downplay how cool that game was. That was a great game, but this game was just... it was different. We've beaten the Chiefs in the past, believe it or not. One of my favorite Raider games of all time came on the Michael Crabtree last-second touchdown, but this one was just so unique. We came out there with the mindset of violence and to beat our enemy to death, and we did exactly that. 2 defensive touchdowns for the Raiders? Well, we don't do that. Give me Antonio Pierce back next year, please. We've never even come close to playing with this much passion under McDaniels. Not even like a 16th of what Pierce has these boys playing at, because we just demolished the Kansas City Chiefs on defense. Our offense did damn near nothing, and their defense was still clamping, but admittedly their offense did look terrible, so maybe this is just not even close to the Chiefs teams that we've been used to seeing over the past couple of years. I'm sure for anyone who isn't a Raiders fan, this game was a tough watch because these were arguably the 2 worst offenses of the entire week playing at their lowest potential, but I don't care. Not even a little bit. This was one of my favorite Raiders games in a hot minute. We were just vicious from start to finish, and that's what our organization is about. If we have one strength as a franchise, it's that we have this persona of just being the villains of the NFL, and although gone are the days of the baseball field for football games and drunken men fighting any opposing fan within a 100-foot radius, we need to get back to our core. We are a team built on hatred, and I think this game proved that Antonio Pierce is going to be our coach to bring that idea back. What a terrible win. The Eagles were up 20-3 at halftime, and then Tyrod Taylor came in. A backup quarterback, mind you, and then the Eagles team that we've been used to over the past couple of weeks came back. It's such a mess. This team has too many problems to even count on defense, and to be honest with you, the offense might just be worse. They finally decided to run an outside zone, but that's just one of the many problems this team has just on one side of the ball. But talent is talent, and the Giants lack that, and eventually the Eagles were able to just out-talent them over time, and like, you let this play happen. I can't believe it. I can't believe that this team actually was in contention for a Super Bowl, and at this rate, they're not even going to come close to it. They're going to be a first-round exit, and the locker room and chemistry problems between the coaches and players are just going to consume this team. It's such talent malpractice. It's unbelievable. Well, just when you think the NFL is starting to at least make a little bit of sense, the one team, the only team in the NFL that has been able to be classified as very good, goes out there and looks like absolute trash. Besides the amazing tackle by the referee here and a few penalties that gave him extra life, the first half was pretty close, besides Brock Purdy playing the worst game of his entire career. But with him playing terribly, Lamar in the offense that has almost no talent left after injuries wiped away everything couldn't capitalize on any of the momentum. But Brock Purdy, he kept going. He just kept doing worse and worse, and after another interception early in the third quarter, this game was over. It was just a demolishment from the Ravens from there on out, and for the 49ers, this wasn't like an absolutely demoralizing loss. I mean, you've had worse losses in the past. Remember, they did lose to P.J. Walker, but the injuries are still going to be the biggest concern. As per usual, they seem to avoid major injuries, but that's another injury for Brock Purdy, week after week after week. Kyle Shanahan keeps saying it's a stinger, but they pile on eventually. And if Trent Williams goes down, they are absolutely screwed. They still haven't won a game on the season without Trent Williams, and he is the key to the offense along with their other 5 All-Pros. So they need to be healthy if they want to be a juggernaut, but even if they are, I don't know. This game was not a good look. But before we get to the end of the video, you know what time it is. It's time for the Tubfrog Discord Awards, where I turn to you, the people, to see what you thought were the best and worst highlights from Week 16, and with that, you said the best play from Week 16 was the referee tackle on Lamar Jackson for a safety. I actually have just never seen anything like that in my life. That was unbelievable. And then the best game from Week 16 actually was pretty shocking to me. You said it was 49ers versus Ravens, and like, not even super close either. I was pretty sure that this was going to be a Lions-Vikings win, but no. And then you said the best individual performance from Week 16 was Lamar Jackson. He had a slow first half, like I just said, but he really turned things on in the second and maybe put himself in the front runner for the MVP. And then the worst team performance, not the 49ers, but the Kansas City Chiefs. I actually disagree with this. I think the Chiefs played some great football out there. I was pretty satisfied with their performance overall. And then the worst individual performance, this is Mac Jones levels of just blowouts in this territory. Brock Purdy didn't even let anyone else to break double-digit voting. Wow, that is rough. And then I asked what your favorite fish was, and there were a lot of options and a lot of votes, but Chris was snubbed. It's salmon. Salmon, I guess. But anyways, if you like this video, then subscribe, because I got a lot of videos on the channel just like this one. And if you like this video, then watch this video that I did a few weeks ago on the tragic downfall of Robert Griffin III. It's pretty good, trust me. And also, thanks to all my Patrons for pledging $1. It really does mean a lot. But anyways, until next time.